Wisdom. And you're listening to Pearl of Wisdom from Rico and Perla's House of Exotic Jaimes Picks Frolic. And today I'm going to be looking at the Edmonton Oilers, who just got knocked out from there you go, I gotta share this out. Just got knocked out from the playoffs by the Anaheim Ducks. And what they may do in the offseason. Jaime's Body Lube, it's the best there. I said it. Never felt this way before. Pistachio flavor coming out right now. Oh, it's good. I still like the Tequila Sunrise. Not a good one. All right, so Edmonton Oilers. A little back. I'm going to look at some of the things that they can do. Possibly, hopefully, maybe, because we know that they are under the pressure now, are they not? Losing the first round against the Anaheim Ducks. You got McDavid called out themselves and everybody's got, but it's not always the case that management is called out publicly, regardless of how you do it. So looking back at what I was saying about the Edmonton Oilers before the season started, I said that I believed that last year's making it to the finals was Draisaitl and McDavid dragging a team into the finals. And I got slammed for it. People showing me, look at the points from the depth players and all of these sort of things like that. The thing was that McDavid, especially the McDavid line especially, had to play against the other team's top line constantly last year. Not just in the regular season, but in the playoffs as well, because their lower lines were not capable of playing against top competition. And Knobloch got in shit for this by fans alike, saying that he's overplaying McDavid and all of those things. But if you looked at the underlying analytics and really just the eye test, he wasn't doing a bad thing. There was a reason to not trust those lower lines against top competition. He really had no choice but to play that McDavid line against the other team's top lines. They were overmatched, and then they lost Brown and who else did they lose? They lost a couple players from lineup from last, thinking that Savoy was going to be able to take over. I don't know how much they thought about Savoy actually being able to be a guy that can be a regular top six this year, but they pretty much had to give it a shot. They were in cap hell, and there was not much. There was not much wiggle room to be able to bring in priced players like Roslovich, who barely can play. He's really a liability unless he's scoring, and he's like in Carolina, they put him in with Jarvis and Stahl, two of the better shutdown players in the league, in order to compensate for how poor he is full sheet. And that is in lies the problem as far as I'm concerned. The biggest problem with the Edmonton Oilers is that, and we'll look at it as we go down the roster, their depth is just deplorable, to tell you the honest truth. Good for them that they brought in Dickinson, but their depth is deplorable. Now, we can't continue talking about the Edmonton Oilers without talking about their goaltending. And that's definitely a bone of contention. I mean, again, I thought Ingram was a nice shot, and I don't think he's a terrible goaltender. I think he's okay, a 1B, something like that. But they had difficulty finding a better goaltender than that. First of all, they have very little cap space. Apparently, they tried to get Gibson, but they needed Anaheim to retain, and they wouldn't, so he ended up going to Detroit. We'll see how that I think Gibson maybe going on the market when Kosa takes over in Detroit, if he is able to take over and solidify that position. So we'll see if he's willing to go to Edmonton and Detroit will retain or something like that. But there wasn't many goaltenders out there. Now we can go back and say, okay, well, they could have had Wedgwood. Wedgwood, I think it was it Dallas that Wedgwood was playing with? They wanted a goaltender in return, and Edmonton didn't have one. You go Vladar. Okay, there's a good example. We could have signed him for $3.5 million. Could we have? There's several things you got to look at here. First of all, Philadelphia, Rick Tocchet, he plays a very goaltender-friendly system. It's a collapse 1-3-1. Boring as hell to watch, but very goaltender-friendly. I'm not sure Vladar would have as good in numbers if he was in Edmonton because, first of all, they don't play a system like that. Second of all, their lower lines are overmatched against top competition, and they get run over quite a bit, and he's going to see far more shots, far more high-danger chances. Philadelphia was third best shot suppression team in the league, I think, somewhere around there. And Edmonton was not. It was not. They saw a lot of shots. Not also leads to the next problem for Oilers management. Even though they have McDavid, and I really think that they thought having McDavid was going to solve this problem a little more than it did, a lot of players don't want to play in Edmonton. I'm from Edmonton originally. Not like born in Edmonton. I was born in Mississauga, but I lived there from the time I was 12 till up to about 2 years ago. I live in Indiana in the United States now. But about 40 years, right around 40 years, I lived there. And I appreciate the city because I made a lot of money doing as a pretty much a trades person. You can make a ton there. If you're a labor person or something like that, or even white collar in the oil industry, or even period, they pay way more than anywhere else in Canada. And they do have lower income taxes in Edmonton, rest of Canada, generally speaking. But compared to the United States, not so much. You still pay a shit ton of taxes. And it's just not a sexy city. It's a safe city, for sure. I never felt threatened anywhere. You could go out in downtown at 2:00 in the morning and felt pretty good. You might see some drug addicts around or something like that, but for the most part, you didn't hear guns going off, and you didn't really feel threatened. It's great. It's great for family. It's great for middle to upper middle class, but it's not sexy. There's not too many fancy type restaurants there. They don't care about aesthetics too much in Edmonton. These are pretty much very wealthy rednecks, and it kind of looks that way. They don't like to spend money on making things look pretty. They don't have much use except for the big mall that they have. If you have a wife who likes to shop and stuff like that, you pretty much have to drive to the West End and go shopping in the mall that's there, because they don't really have any high-end places like that. They don't really have any high-end cafes. The scene is meh. In comparison to like Chicago or LA or New York, or even Toronto, to tell you the honest truth. Toronto is killer, but Edmonton, not so much. And of course, it's crazy ass cold in the wintertime. Crazy ass cold. So if you are a multi-million-dollar hockey player with a multi-million-dollar wife, and you have options to go to Edmonton or elsewhere, even though they went to finals, and you should theoretically have a better chance of winning. Most players would be able to talk themselves into going to like in LA and saying, I'll try to win a cup there, or Dallas. I mean, they got a good team. Colorado, much sexier cities than Edmonton. So they have a very difficult time with that. And that still is the case. They do have a couple players like Hyman, who came from Toronto, who did so because McDavid was there flat out publicly said it. Ekholm, he had a no trade clause. Edmonton wasn't on it. He was very happy to go to Edmonton. He's one of these winter sports guys. And talking about that, if you like sledding, you're good. But if you like fishing and you're in Edmonton, it's a good 2.5 hour drive to get to a lake. There's, unlike a place like Minnesota that's also cold, or even Toronto, to tell you the honest truth, Ontario, where you've got a lake like half an hour away, 45 minutes away, maybe even in your back door. The Edmonton doesn't have that. It's very dry. It's very flat. It's not aesthetically pleasing. I'm just straight up 3.5 hours away from Banff and Jasper. You got to check that out. It's the most beautiful place in the world. But okay, with that being said, yeah, these are all the things that the challenges that they've had up until now. They had the Holloway move. They dragged their feet with that contract. I think Holloway got fed up and said, "Screw it, I'm going to St. Louis. You can sign me, but I'm not staying." I think they hurt his feelings. And with Broberg, I mean, I hated them losing him too. I was like, "Sheesh, you gotta." They signed Nurse. That was the other thing. They signed Nurse. So we'll get into that. We'll get into the lineup and some of the things that they can do. We'll talk about Nurse. We'll talk about Bouchard. Talk about maybe a goaltender they might be able to pick up. When you listen to this video, you're going to see that the goaltending position is still going to be very tough. So I got Puckpedia up here. We're going to look at some of the ways I think they can fix it to make hopefully the goaltenders have an easier time, the defensemen have an easier time, and the top lines of McDavid and basically Draisaitl, because I'm still not convinced that Podkolzin is your true answer as a second line left winger. He's open the rest of your roster, and Kapanen is not a second line winger. Love his heart and the way he's improved since he's been in St. Louis, but he's still not. So you've got Draisaitl. Let's go. I'll pull it up. Okay. First of all, they've got, in reminder, they have $14.5 million of cap space next year. So as we go through this, we'll see how that's getting eaten up pretty quick. Nugent Hopkins on the left side here. He had a terrible year this year, honestly. And you can say that about a lot of the players this year. 2 Stanley Cup finals, condensed schedule, McDavid going to Olympics, Draisaitl going to Olympics, Ekholm going to the Olympics. I think it really did take their toll, as you saw with the Florida Panthers. Now they went to 3 finals, which even makes it more, but still, it's not easy. That condensed schedule was a bitch, man. And Nugent Hopkins really kind of fell off the map analytically this year. I'm not going to show you every single analytic for every team, for every player, for the sake of time, but you can go look at it for yourself. JFresh Analytics is what I use. I'm a professional sports handicapper, and his analytics model has been unbelievable for my handicapping and betting and stuff like that. I look at player per player rosters when doing betting for futures and all that, and he's the best. He doesn't know who I am. I don't get paid by him. He has no idea who I am. I'm promoting him simply because he's good. He had a terrible year, did put up, some points in the playoffs, but wasn't his defensive self that he normally is. I'm going to chalk it up to fatigue, but he is 33 years old. So we're getting into, we're getting into that time now, 33, 34, 35, where players generally start to slow down. But I'm going to be positive here and say that Nuge gets some rest. Whatever may have been ailing him, he gets all pampered up and he's good to go playing on this top line. Connor McDavid, I mean, who can go against Connor McDavid. He plays elite competition constantly, which means he's deployed against other teams' top lines more than more than a lot of elite players are, to tell you the honest truth, because a lot of the time coaches try to keep their players away from the elite competition. Not Connor McDavid, and we'll get into why down the road. And that is really tough to do in an 82 game schedule constantly all the time. But he still pulls 138 points and almost 50 goals. Guy's insane. The guy is freaking insane. Simple as that. His defensive analytics took a shit kicking. 2 years ago, he was 75% above replacement defensively. He's underrated capabilities defensively. However, this year, like Nugent Hopkins as well, they were playing a lot from behind, partially because of goaltending and partially because what I'm going to talk about as I go through this video. So when you're playing from behind, you're taking high-risk offensive chances and your defensive analytics take a shit kicking. Same for Zach Hyman. Of course, he was injured as well this year. He's 33 years old. 34, actually, 33.9. So he's going to be on the verge of 35. And he's getting injured more often now. He was injured in the playoffs last year. He was injured again here in the regular season. Only got into 58 games. When he's in the lineup and he's playing with Connor, he can score 31 goals in 58 games. You can't a point-a-game player. It's pretty great. I doubt he would do that playing with a lot of centers, but it doesn't matter. He still manages to do it up there. Vasily Podkolzin has turned into what I would call a borderline elite third line left winger. And if you notice, he's not playing on the third line. He had 37 regular season points last year, and many Oilers fans will point out that that's really good if you look at in comparison to other players out there, like say a player like Peterka in Utah, who had 42 regular season points. But Peterka's center he played with was Barrett Hayton. And you can look at other players that had that sort of production and look at their center and go, oh, yeah, okay. It wasn't really, you put those guys with Draisaitl, what are they doing? A lot more than that. But he's very good defensively. He's improved immensely as a defensive shutdown left winger from night and day from the time he came over from Vancouver. He works his balls off. I love him. I do love Vasily Podkolzin. I'm not shitting on him here to say that ideally you don't want him on your second LW. You can get away with it. You can, if depending on the rest of your roster. Leon Draisaitl had one of his best defensive years last year. Shit the bed again, or I shouldn't say shit the bed. Went into the tank this year for all the reasons I've already mentioned. Guy's elite. Not going to talk anything shit about Leon Draisaitl. He's an incredible player, no doubt about it, of course. Then we have Matthew Savoy. Matthew Savoy generally didn't play in this spot. What Knobloch did, and I thought he would do, was play him up and down the lineup. Give him tip his toe into playing against elite competition for a couple games. Notice when he starts to sag and bring him back down again and bring him up. I thought Knobloch did an excellent job with a lot of players that way, with how he was deploying his lineup. And I had discussions, if you want to call them, with Oilers fans because they're pretty passionate. They were thinking he was going to get 60 to 70 points this year playing on the top line in the beginning of the year. And I was like, I would pump the brakes there, man. I don't think this guy's ready physically to be able to do that. And he's still got to learn the whole NHL game. I mean, Matthew Savoy is not going to be an elite offensive player. He's got to be a guy that can play in all three zones. He's got to learn that. And he's still got a ways to go. However, he improved dramatically this year. So he could maybe possibly be a guy that can play more of a role next year. But I had him at 40 points or less. And I figured if he got 35 points this year, he's had a good year. And he did, somewhere around there. So I think he had a good year for the development that he's showing, where his projected development, I would say, is on par, if not a little further. So, but whether you're going to be, I mean, that's not a guy ultimately at this moment you want in your top 6 consistently all the time. Then we go to Colton Dock, Josh Szymanski, and Trent Frederic. And for a third line, that is absolutely deplorable. These are fourth line players playing above their heads. Now, if you put Dickinson there, if they sign Dickinson now, like when I was screaming for them to sign Dickinson, I would say I was screaming for them to sign Shinnikov before the season started, or trade for him when he asked for a trade out of Columbus. I don't know what happened there, but if they weren't in on him, there's a management problem, man. And there's an analytics problem in this group. Like, obviously, Dubas is a major analytics guy, and he identified it and grabbed him, and you saw what he did. And Jason Dickinson's one of the best shutdown centers in the game. Flat out, no doubt about it. Elite competition, awesome. When he's healthy, that's the problem. He's hurt all the time. But without him in this third line, you got troubles, man. This is where I believe the defensive problems begin with Edmonton more than their actual defensemen. Same as like Matthew Savoy. These guys are overmatched in the neutral zone, quite often overmatched in the offensive zone, and they get stuck in the offensive zone too long. Haven't figured out yet how to play a full sheet where you have defensive awareness in everywhere you are on the ice. And in today's NHL, that is so important, man. Florida Panthers, Tampa Bay Lightning, Colorado Avalanche when they won, although less so Colorado Avalanche, but they still had Landeskog, Lehkonen, Nichushkin, Kadri. They had shutdown players on that team, and you need them, especially lower in the lineups, so you don't have Connor McDavid playing against other teams' top lines all game all the time. They're going to burn out by the playoffs, man. You can't do it. Toronto did it to Marner the whole time he was there. He goes to Vegas, and now you're seeing the benefit of getting a little easier deployment. The 82 game schedule is tough. The more you can get your top lines playing against second and third lines, the better, and in the playoffs as well. And Knoblauch was getting a ton of flack for not playing the Colton Docks and Fredericks and everything more. Henrique, who else was in there? Roslovic. Roslovic's not even here. Roslovic, he's a guy that played up there, and he can't play bottom 6. He's clueless as far as defensive. Very low IQ player with a great shot if he gets in his spots and can score. But if he's not scoring, he's not doing nothing. Trent Frederic is not even a good fourth liner right now, and he's getting 3.8. Awful contract. Josh Szymanski could be good. He's 24 years old. He looked okay, but he's more of a fourth liner than a third. Colton Dock, again, he's growing. So far, what I see from him, he's possibly could be a good third liner, but you don't want this as your third line. Because what happens is now, and we'll get to the defense in a second, for Isaac Howard, they got to do something with this fourth line. They had other guys on here. I can't remember who they were. Oh, yeah, Lazar was one of them. Help me out in the comment section if you can remember who they were. But, I mean, they were fourth liners, average at best fourth liners. Matthias Janmark. Connor Clattenburg's not even that. And Isaac Howard, I don't know what he's going to be next year. He did put up good points in the AHL, but the rub on him has always been his full game, complete game. And if they're saying that in college, he's got probably a shit ton of work to do on it here in the NHL. So we'll see. Cross your fingers, but I'm not jumping for joy saying Howard's going to be on the second line left wing next year. No, definitely not. So we get to the defense, and the problem here with the defense, Evan Bouchard gets a lot of shit for some turnovers that he makes. He's not a good one-on-one guy, and he's not physical. So eye test wise, people just, if you're only focusing on him when you can see him on the screen, if you're not watching how he plays, like if you're not watching just him as he plays through the whole game, you're only going to see the occasional bad passes he makes. Forget about all the wonderful passes he makes out of the zone. Unbelievable, to tell you the honest truth. And he makes it look so easy. I think half the time, people that are just looking at it, your average fan, just think it's an easy thing to do. It's not. He is just buttery with his passes. And when they don't work, it looks really bad. He's got the puck on his stick more than any other player on the ice. And when he looks up and you've got third line guys like Doc, Szymanski, Frederick, Savoy if he's on the second line, or even Roslovic when he's on the second line, less or so Podkolzin, overmatched in their spots, not in their spots, don't know what they're doing, floating around. Roslovic, he plays the suicide pass constantly all the time. Suicide pass is when you're sitting in the middle of the neutral zone and the defenseman's right behind you, and they'll just freaking slam you as soon as you get it. If I were Bouchard, I would pass it to him over and over again. I'd just say, here, take it. Boom, boom, boom. Are you getting it yet? Getting it yet? Get on the fucking wall, man. If he's even in the spot to begin with. So they look up and they don't see anybody. Bouchard looks up. He doesn't see anybody to pass to. He's got two choices. He's got to find a way to pass, or he's got to make a thread pass, or he's got to turn around, go back, get everybody to come back again, and then go again, which is totally not the way the Oilers should be playing with, guys like Draisaitl and the speed that they have on their lineup. And it's not the way they want to play. It's never been their philosophy. It probably never will be. It's ingrained in them. So he ends up trying to thread a pass or make a play that's not there, or jumping it down the ice, or trying to skate it out and he can't, and the puck gets taken off his stick. That is the major problem with the Edmonton Oilers, I believe, and I've been saying this for quite a while, even in last year's playoffs when I took Florida to take the Edmonton Oilers. So that then you have, you got Matthias Ekholm, again, not a great year. Chalk it up to 2 finals, 36 years old, going to be 37, still a great shutdown defenseman. Get some rest, come back, probably will be okay. The guy's a freaking beast, man. Absolute beast. He just seems like a guy that can probably play up until he's 40 years old at a very high level. I'm not too worried about him, although age is age, and you never know. Darnell Nurse, same problem as Bouchard. He's just not as skilled as Bouchard. He's not as talented as Bouchard. And the other thing here, and I'm going to talk about what I'm going to talk about on how with the Edmonton Oilers, is that if they decide to change their coach, and I actually like Knobloch in a lot of ways, get a man-on-man defense guy like Laviolette in here, because I don't think Darnell Nurse and Evan Bouchard, both of them, and actually this defense in general, except for maybe Ekholm, but I think Ekholm can play man-on-man okay, is built for a zone collapse defense where you're blocking shots. Nurse is horrible at blocking shots. I don't think I've ever seen a player worse at blocking shots, except for the fact that there are players, defensemen, that just won't block them. At least he tries. But for a guy who tries to block shots, he is terrible at it. But he can skate. He's a great skater, and he's actually a really intelligent player. The problem he has is the same problem that Bouchard has. there's a lot of times in a game where he has nobody to pass to out of the zone. He has to try to skate it out and all of those sort of things like that. They got players that are not willing to or not able to get back enough to help the defense as well. And in today's NHL, that is so important, man. I can't stress it enough. You look at the Florida Panthers, they got one guy on that team that has struggles getting back and is poor defensively, and that's Verhaeghe. Everybody else, especially in the playoffs, in the regular season, they don't kill themselves as much. But in the playoffs, these guys are back, and they'll come way back deep in the defensive zone and play it. And they know how not to overcommit offensively to make sure they have time to get back. That's what I mean about full sheet. Full sheet means you're smart enough to know when to take a risk offensively and when not to. And they have a lot of players that just don't know how to do that. Frederick, unbelievable. Where the hell is he half the time? So Darnell Nurse has that problem. He also has a problem that he's probably an average 2D, and he's getting paid like an elite defenseman. And he is getting absolutely blasted in Edmonton. Blasted. Everybody's calling for him to go out, and I think it affected his confidence finally this year. Last year, he wasn't not too bad. The year before, he actually was about average, above replacement defensively. He knows where to be. He's good. He's very good positionally, but like I said, he can't block shots to save his life, and it looks really bad. So I don't know. Lots of talk about getting rid of him. I can't see how it happens. I just can't see it. Because with what I'm going to say that they're likely going to have to do, the only way you're getting rid of Darnell Nurse is you're dropping the second and a prospect. Probably everybody knows that Nurse is available, and everybody knows that he's well overpaid. And there's not too many teams, I think, that are completely desperate enough to take a second pair D, lefty especially, at $9 million for something. I just can't see it. I think there's teams that he would be better playing for, like Buffalo, where they play that type of defense. But I mean, I don't think they need him. And there's other teams as well, but I can't see it happening. Jake Wallman, same sort of issue too. I think he'd be better. I think he would be better. He really took a shit kicking again this year too. He just really went into the tank defensively. Didn't have a great year at all. And I think he's making a higher contract next year. But if everything goes the way if they improve certain areas, I think the defensemen look better. Spencer Stastny and Ty, you get Connor Murphy back, it's probably a good idea. Puts Jake Wallman on his normal side. I understand that, but you're paying, like I said, Dickinson. Dickinson's probably going to cost you 2.5 to 3, which I think is under what he could get. Like, there's a lot of teams out there that realize that he's a shutdown center and could use him. I don't know. He could get 4.5, honestly. Great penalty killer. And if that's the case, you had 14 million. Now you're down to 9.5. You have to sign Connor Murphy back. He was making 2.2 last year. You might be able to get away with it again. Now you're talking 7 million. You're in trouble, man. And then, of course, the old Tristan Jarry. The trade that may go down as one of the worst trades ever. Apparently what happened in this situation was Skinner was asking for a trade for a long time. And I hate to say it, I've heard this too many times in Edmonton, and this is kind of a problem with Edmonton. And this reputation, I think, is getting out there when it comes to Edmonton. Milan Lucic talked about it. He'd be out with his family, and people were just yelling crap at him and his family, and saying all kinds of terrible things to them, to the point where he felt it was kind of unsafe to be there. And apparently this happened with Skinner as well. And I've heard murmurs of this from other players. Eberle back in the day. I mean, these are labor guys, you know. They can be mouthy. I know I worked up north in the oil sands for years. These are guys that don't pull punches, and they're not what you would call polite a lot of the time. So, to put it mildly. So Skinner was asking for a trade, and I've heard, I don't know actual facts on this. I'm not an insider. That he actually called the NHLPA and said, "Look, I don't feel safe here. I want to get traded, and these guys are dragging their feet and blah blah blah." And they got a lot of pressure, and they finally just called him up. So, maybe something major happened that said, "That's enough. We got to do something. We got to get him out of here," just out of the kindness of their hearts. Tristan Jarry was the only one available. Tristan Jarry's got a farm in Edmonton. They just crossed their fingers and hoped that he was going to be something that he hasn't been for 3 years. And of course he wasn't, and he's not. And personally, I would have said to, I think it would have been better. I should say, I would have said, I don't know. I'm not in that situation. I don't know how hard this is to do. I probably would have said, okay, look, go sit. Till we can find a place for you. Get out of Edmonton, and we'll just say you're going somewhere for personal reasons or whatever, which would have left them without a goaltender, which, I mean, Mayor, you're talking about McDavid here. You got 2 years to win a cup, and you're barely in a playoff spot. That's pretty tough to do. So they got absolutely shellacked. He's making $5.37 million. We're going to try to get rid of that contract with what I'm talking about. With what we're going into here. They basically have no prospects that I've really. That Matvei Petrov guy looked like he was going to be something, and this year he fell off the map. Doesn't look good at all. Bo Akey had 10 points in 42 games. He's 21 years old, primarily a defensive defenseman. I don't know what he's going to turn out to be. Scouts tell me that he may or may not be an NHLer, but, he's probably their top prospect. Not looking good. So, what do we do? Well, like I said, personally, the easiest thing to get is wingers. Short of Alex Tuck, who would pretty much take up all your cap space. And you'd still have to get rid of Jarry, because I'm hearing that he's asking for 10, which will probably put him in the $9 million for however many years. Short of getting Tuck, who knows if he'd be willing to come to Edmonton. My gut says that he's going to end up back in Buffalo in some way after being there through all the lean years. He's from the area. He cheered for Buffalo growing up, and Buffalo is really trying to create a culture where they don't lose players, that they can say, look, players want to be here. And keeping a guy like that would really, not keeping Tuck would really hurt that for them. And for a team in Buffalo like Edmonton that has a tough time getting free agents or even keeping their players that they already have, such as Peterka, it would be a huge boost and feather in their cap if they could sign Tuck. And besides that, there's only a couple players, but I'm going to look at 2 players that I think they might be able to get and keep under the cap with certain deals. But I will tell you this: they ain't going to have any they're not going. They have no draft picks. They're not going to have any future here in these deals that I'm going to make. So the first one I'm looking at. And let me get over to I'm going to share the screen again. I'm going to go over to JFresh Analytics. And we're going to look at Jake DeBrusk from the Vancouver Canucks. Here, I'll go over this a little bit with JFresh Analytics, there's certain things you got to 60% WAR as a second liner, 67% WAR. Basically means that Jake DeBrusk as a winger is 67% better than replacement of any team players out there. In other words, 33% of the league would be better in this position than him, which is really good, which is above average player. A few things to look at here is even strike defense is really low. However, these were 2 years in Vancouver where, again, they were playing from behind a lot. They were bad, especially this year. And he was pressing for offense most of the year. And that happens, it almost always hits your analytics. But if you look at his last year in Boston, and this is a 3-year trend, that this over here on the right-hand side, what I'm saying, where you see this blue dot and white and red, it shows you the last 3 years. I know that before that, he hovered right around the 75% above replacement as a defensive player, a solid 3-zone aware defensive player that plays against fairly top competition, 76%. If you looked at McDavid's, that's a 100%. So he has been used a lot. He has been tried to be used somewhat against second and third lines a lot, but he does play against top lines quite a bit to be 76% above replacement in competition. His effect on teammates is good. Like I said, his defensively, I think in the right situation, that would improve quite a bit. Funny thing is his goals and assists are low. And a lot of that has to do, I believe, with the type of player he is. He drives offense a lot and he creates. He's more of a added player on a line, like a complementary player in a lot of ways, but an extremely good one. An extremely good one for as far as complementary goes. He's only making 5.5 for the next 6 years, 29 years old. And my deal here to get him, Vancouver is last year, I read a few things where he said he was open to moving. If Vancouver's doing a deep rebuild, and if they're moving him, they likely are. So what I went with here is, this is where you get rid of the Tristan Jarry contract. Maybe they buy it out, however you want to do it. But in order to do that, you're going to have to give up a ton. That Bo Akey guy that I said, gone. Second round pick, gone. Either that and probably a Savoy. And I know Edmonton Oilers fans are going to be screaming, no, Savoy's already as good as DeBrusk. No, he's not. And I don't even know if he ever will be, honestly. And you need to win now. And you need guys that can play a full sheet. You need guys that can play against top competition in all 3 zones. And Jake DeBrusk is it. It's win now, man. After this is over, you trade. If McDavid is going to go, you trade Draisaitl and McDavid. You pick up as many picks as you want, and then you kick up your heels and tell yourself you're not going to be relevant for 5 to 7 years. But right now, you might be able to keep McDavid if they win a cup. And Jake DeBrusk, to me, is a guy that can play left wing or right wing. You can fit on that Draisaitl side. And if you have a guy like that, you might be able to get away with Podkolzin on the left side. And that puts Kapanen down, and hopefully you get to sign Dickinson. And now you're looking like you have a decent third line. Kapanen has really improved defensively as a full sheet player, and is, to me, is better suited for playing against playing in a third line role, maybe a little less minutes, so he has top speed all the time and he can produce offense down there as well. All right, so the next player I'm looking at, and oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, Jake DeBrusk is from Edmonton. His father is a media guy in the organization, Louis DeBrusk. You might remember him. He played for the Edmonton Oilers. So he gets to have family around him. He gets to be home. Just seems like the perfect play to me. Well, we're going to go to another Alberta boy. Bobby McMahon. Bobby McMahon, 29 years old, late bloomer. This is a risky one, my friends. This is a risky one. But guess what? Edmonton doesn't have a choice here but to take a risk. He's 59% above replacement defensively. He doesn't really drive offense that well, but I mean, he doesn't really have to playing on a line with Draisaitl and DeBrusk because they'll drive most of the offense. But he's a better shooter and scorer, and he's better at finishing than DeBrusk. To me, he's kind of perfect on that line. He's got speed. He can play all three zones. He played against 71% competition, which isn't too bad. Take a step up and maybe be able to play against even tougher competition than that. He's going to get you 50 points, maybe something in that area. He's not a terribly small guy. I think he's worth a shot. He was making 1.3. We're praying to God that nobody overpays the shit out of this guy next year, and you can get him for five, somewhere around there. And because we traded the Jari contract, we added that 5 to get DeBrusk. We got the room to get Bobby McMahon. And if you do this, you can either play him on the third line, which would with Dickinson, hopefully, for Edmonton Oilers fans, and Kapanen, and you've got a shutdown line, my friend. Although I would rather have Podkolzin there. You put Podkolzin, Dickinson, and Kapanen together, now you've got a third line that can take the minutes from McDavid against other teams' top lines. And to me, that is the most important thing that the Edmonton Oilers have to do in this offseason, considering their options in goal. So we'll talk about goal in a second. If McDavid could go down like 10 or 15%, we'll look at 10 or 15% against top competition. 98%. That was I'm surprised there's even a 2% loss. I don't know what that's from. Again, let's see the drop in defense. He was 2 years ago, he was 50% above replacement, but he keeps on dropping because he's just playing from behind and he has to play high risk hockey. If you could drop that down to 80% even, where he's not constantly playing against the other team's top lines, I wouldn't doubt if he pulls 160 points. I wouldn't doubt it at all. And maybe he pulls the same amount of points, but he doesn't have to exert himself like fucking crazy all year long, and he's got more left. He's got more left come. Let's see what Draisaitl plays at. I bet you it's a lot lower. It's 91. It's a little lower. It's not a lot lower. He actually improved defensively this year. That's not bad. Anywhere, if you can be like 50% above replacement and you put up the points these do, there's nothing wrong with that. It's fantastic. And of course, he drives offense like crazy. So now, goaltending. Everybody's probably screaming. What about goaltending? There's the only thing I can say. You gave up Savoy or Howard, second round pick or to get rid of Jari and bring DeBrusk back. You really don't have much left, but maybe another second round pick in 2027. We're not caring. We are not caring about tomorrow at all. Not at all. No caring whatsoever. The only goaltender I saw out there, and I want you to comment in the comment section if you know someone else that I'm not thinking of. One person, one goaltender is possibly Gibson if Detroit's willing to retain. I doubt they are, though. They have this Kosa kid coming up that looks like he could be the next Wallstat. If he can take that spot, at the deadline, they may say, or maybe even before that, they may be open to moving Gibson. I'm not sure if Gibson's going to okay that trade to go to Edmonton. I don't know what his family thinks. I don't know if he wants to go to a Canadian market or anything like that. I have no idea. So that is a possibility. But the only guy I see out there that has shown that he can handle things somewhat, although he had a bad year last year, is in Toronto, and that's Stolars at 3 point something. Throw a third, whatever, at them. We'll take all their cap space. They're going to want cap space this year. I think they'll try to get a cheaper goaltender and roll with the wall. And sign Ingram back and have a whoever's hot play type thing. But I think the goaltending will look a lot better if you improve the depth on this team too, because you're going to Bouchard and Nurse are going to have people to pass to Brusque and McMahon. McMahon are fully understanding that they can of how to play a full sheet, come back and help the defense be in their spots. They can play against top competition, which makes it easier for defensemen to get the puck out and help them in the zone as well. Then finally, I would take a phone call on Laviolette. I say, can you help us with the man-on-man defense here? Because I really think this defense is made better for man-on-man. The only thing about man-on-man defense is it's way tougher physically. And I think they say otherwise, but I think it's more cerebral. With the zone defense, there's really a lot of communication that has to happen. Everybody has to work together to make sure that they're in their zone spots and where the puck is going and all that. And a lot of people say it's more cerebral. But man on man, there's less ability to be able to talk to the guy that's taking that man over in the corner. Everybody's kind of got their man. You still got to communicate, but it's quite often it's not even possible to do so. So you really have to think about what's happening over there. Where's that puck going? Where's this guy going? Where's that guy going? And be able to do it. I think it's more complex. And I've had discussions with Jonathan Davis, who talks to Buffalo coaches and stuff that say, because Lindy Ruff has a form of this type of defense there in Buffalo that says, no, it's really simple. It's not complex at all. And I think that they're just saying that for the sake of not getting it out there that it is, because, okay, maybe you think it's simple, but it took that defense 2 years to figure it out when he got there. It took them 2 years. So if it's that simple, how stupid are your players? A zone defense can be picked up pretty quick. There's less movement. You're just covering a zone, and quite often you end up just being them in a box, blocking shots and stuff like that. Which I just told you, two players that are not great at blocking shots. Bouchard does block them, but Nurse especially no. Use their skating for man on man. You need good skaters, and you got them. And I think it's a more effective way to play. Carolina plays that way. Florida plays that way. Tampa plays that way. Just happen to be cup winners that play that way. So that's what I got to say, man. Tell me what you think about all the stuff I just said in the Edmonton Oilers and what they're going to do in the offseason. I think that's what they have to do. But I'm going to be talking about Toronto Maple Leafs next and what they can do, because that is one hell of a challenge, isn't it? And you can talk to me tonight at Rico and Perlo's House of Exotic Picks Frolic, where I'm going to be I'll be watching the game. The game will probably be over by then. I'm going to talk about the games for tomorrow, my betting picks. Also, I'll be on again tomorrow morning on the forecheck with exotic wagers, and hopefully Jonathan Davis as well. Dre Martinez, I call him Parlay Dre. The guy is an amazing parlay guy. If you like the parlays and the big plus money, you're going to love Parlay Dre. And the Stat Master J, Jonathan Davis, also an insider. He's a reporter for the LA Kings. He knows a lot about what's going on in the league, and he's just an incredible stat guy. You got to check it out. He's an incredible stat guy. My personal betting and handicapping since I met him has gone through the roof. He is fantastic. Check him on VSiN too. He does a show every day. He has articles on VSiN all the time. He's on Sirius Radio on Mondays. Exotic Wagers has a Discord that he does. It's completely free for right now, and you can get his picks on there. Go to @ExoticWagers on the Twitter. And I will see you next time when we talk about this sort of stuff again, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Comment in the comment section. Tell me if you want me to do some other teams as they exit out into the land, or if they've already missed the playoffs, what they may do, what they should do, where they're going, how they should look next year, all of those things, because that's what I call fun, boys.